Welcome to another video, Cardboard Cuties! For anybody who doesn't know me, hi, I'm Kyra Kartong and I do stuff on the internet. Today we're taking a close look at ClipStudio Paint. In this video I will be covering all the essentials. This is mainly for freshly baked baby CSP users, but if anybody wants to freshen up their knowledge, stick with me. Here we are at the ClipStudio Paint website. First thing that you see, free trial, buy now. I personally recommend people using the free trial before buying it because money is important. Oh, is that Sam does art? Man, I love this dude so much. Let's just go to buy now. Here we have the get started, the upgrades. If you already have ClipStudio Paint 1, 2 or 3, on the get started thing, we have the annual/monthly plans. You can choose that, or we have the perpetual license. This is the perpetual license. ClipStudio Paint Pro version 4, $58.50 and 49 euros. ClipStudio Paint EX version 4, $258. Okay, that is very expensive. Let's just go and see the comparison between ClipStudio Paint Pro and EX. Here you can see, of course, you can do illustrations and single-page comics, but you can't do multi-page projects in Pro. For that, you have to buy EX. You have some webtoon tools, so I would recommend if you only want to draw and not do like an animation or like a full-on webtoon, I don't really recommend you doing the EX version. Simple animation and give capability, full-length animation tools, it has not. The rest it has, like vector layers, you can still download the brushes and materials. You still have the 3D models and drawing figures. It also has PSD compatibility. It's also RGB and CMYK compatible, and also for both macOS and Windows. Unfortunately, in Pro, you can't convert images and 3D models into lines and dot shading. Here is the full list. If you want to check out what you can and can't do, here I'm gonna put the link in the description so you can see for yourself, because that's actually quite a long list. If you just want to do illustrations, smaller one-page comics and stuff, I recommend you buy the Pro version. And then we have the annual/monthly plans. The difference between that and the perpetual license is you have new features that's constantly being added. You get bonus materials every month. You have 10 GB cloud storage. You earn Clippy that don't expire, and you get free Clippy upon first sign up. That covers it for how to buy ClipStudio Paint. And then of course, you just follow the instructions. Now we're in the actual drawing program. Now I'm going to show you the user interface, aka the workspace of ClipStudio Paint. It looks like this when you first load it up. I will switch to my personal workspace in a bit, but I just wanted to show you how it looks when you first open it. We're just gonna begin with the toolbar over there. Firstly, we have our zoom. Here you can zoom in and out. For that, I might have to open up a file first. We're gonna go to File. Unfortunately, it's in German because I am German. But yeah, we're gonna click on this button here. Then we're gonna click on New. When you open up the new thing, you just can type in 2000 by 2000. Just as an example, we have the other things here that you can use: A4, A5, A6, postcards, and the other things. The DPI is usually not that important when you only want to publish your things online. It's totally fine to be between 72 dpi and 144 dpi. I'm just gonna click on 144. This is only really important if you want to print your stuff. This is color, but you can also change it to gray or monochrome, but we're just gonna stay with color right now. This is the paper color. This is the background of your paper. You can set anything. You can have a black canvas background. I usually stick with white, and then just gonna name it. You can type in anything you want, and I'm typing it in literally. You can just press OK, and magically we have a new canvas. Back to the toolbar. Here you can see the zoom. You can zoom in with just a click or out. Of course, there's also another way of zooming in and out. Do you see this little thingy down here? This is the percentage of how much we zoomed in at. I'm just gonna drag it. Look at that. We're like super close, and then we're super zoomed out. And of course, if you have a mouse next to your tablet and the keyboard, use the scrolling wheel to smoothly zoom in and out. oh, we're suddenly going into a problem. Why is my canvas like this? You probably would be like, okay, I'm gonna zoom in here and then I'm gonna zoom out in the middle, but that's annoying. How about you press space? Do you see this little hand? And now we can move our canvas however we want to. That's really nice and neat. This is basically the first shortcut I'm teaching you right now. Alright, we covered the zoom tool, and right under that we have the hand tool. It's what we actually just did with the space bar. Zooming in and using the hand. You can also turn your canvas with the turning tool. Whoop, whoop, whoop. But if you want to have a normal canvas again, you don't have to just like do this again. If you want to have your canvas turn to normal, we're just gonna go down there. You see this little icon here? There you can set back the thing that you turned. Isn't that great? Also, we can use this thing for turning as well, just like we did with the zooming thing, and then we can just set it back to its original form. We can also do this and this if you don't want to have so much turning, because this is quite sensitive. Just gonna set it back. Now we know how to turn and to use the hand. We already got a shortcut. Just saying it again. Space activates the hand. You don't press it once, you press it continuously until you're done. If you just press it once, it will just turn back to the original tool. So we need to press it a little bit more. Under that is this thing. Object, a layer thingy, light table, and timeline thing. The light table and the timeline feature is mainly for animation purposes. If we have something on our canvas, we can just drag it around with that object thingy. I'm gonna show you real quick what it does. Here we have our peach. I just call it peach. If you want to move it, you can just grab it with the object subtool. If you do another layer, then we can move around these objects too. So I'm just gonna check, okay, on which layer is it? It's on layer 1. This is also very useful. And what is the light table? To be honest, I haven't used that at all. That's why I can't really tell you something about that. This is the timeline, but I'm not going over that today. Next, we have this, moving the layer. Basically the same as the thing that we just did, but only with the layer 2. And even if we click on the green layer, we can't move it. Then we have this and this, but I'm gonna cover it later because this isn't as important right now because we also haven't covered these two topics. I am mad. But for you, it was just a second. Guess what I did? I reinstalled ClipStudio Paint in English. So it's easier for you to comprehend what I'm actually doing, so you don't need to translate it. Lasso tool. I need to change my workspace back into the default one. Here you can see all the different lasso tool, aka all the different selection area tools. We can select with a rectangle, ellipse, polyline, and this is our beloved lasso tool. For anybody who hasn't used a lasso tool at all, I'm just gonna demonstrate what you can do with it. How about we want to move this drawing and turn it a little bit. I'm just gonna go around. You see these lines here? This means that everything that's inside these lines is now inside our lasso. First of all, this is the deselect button. That's pretty easy to understand, right? You can also hover over the icons so you can see what it is, because it takes a while to actually know the icons and remember them correctly. Deselecting obviously deselects our whole selection that we just did with the lasso tool. You also don't have to close the lasso if you don't want to. You can also just do this. And if I let go, it's a perfectly straight line between the beginning and the end. So this is also somewhat neat. The next thing is crop. The following happens when we crop. The only thing that we have now is the thing that we selected. This is our new canvas now. The next thing is invert selected area. This inverts the area of our lasso tool. We haven't selected this anymore, but the opposite of this, what we just did, meaning this. The other thing is expand selected area. As the name suggests, you can expand the area by pixels. Let's just go with 40, so you can really see the difference between that. If we click on OK, you see that our lassoed area is now bigger, and of course we also can shrink the selected area. We're just gonna use 40 again, and now it shrunk. The next thing that we're gonna do is delete. Well, as the name suggests, if you click it, we delete everything that is inside this lasso. The next thing is delete outside section. That means everything that is around our heart will be deleted. Let me draw something real quick. Alright, And ta-da! Everything that's outside of our lasso tool is now deleted. We can also do this, cut and paste. If you look over there, you can see that the heart is now pasted onto another layer. Layer 1, 2. We're gonna go over layers in just a little bit. The other thing is copy and paste. This is basically the same, but it doesn't delete it from the original layer. So we have two versions of our heart now. Next thing is scale and rotate. This is what we actually originally wanted. So now we can scale and rotate our drawing. So every point on this is a point that we can stretch and shrink it. And if you want to rotate it, we just have to get outside of the box and rotate it. The next thing on our list is fill. We're gonna fill the lassoed area with our color that we have. And the next thing is new tone. I don't think it's necessary right now, but let's just click on it for the sake of it. Here we have our simple tone settings. I think this is mainly for screen tone purposes for manga. And also some people use it for their drawings. Let's just go with the hearts. And I want to go down on the frequency so it's a little bit more loose. And now let me delete the layer. We have the screen tone. And if you zoom really close, we have tiny hearts here. I think this is it for the lasso tool. Oh, okay, one more thing. If you want this bar not to be there, but somewhere else, because maybe it's like on part of a drawing that you want to select with the lasso tool, you just have to grab this little tiny bar under it and you can move it around. The selection pen. This is basically the lasso tool, but as a pen. And now everything that we just colored is selected. And of course, we can also erase it with the erase selection tool. And we have shrink selection, which to be honest, I never really used. And shrink collection does the following. Okay, we just want to have this selected, right? Wouldn't it be tedious to also lasso it? I mean, look at that. Wouldn't that be super tedious to trace the outline with it? That doesn't make any sense. So I'm just gonna use the shrink selection tool. And now the inside of our little smiley is selected. I'm quickly gonna go over the brush size real quick. The brush size is under the tool property. We are now at brush size 20. Of course, we can go up, but if you don't want to use these precise numbers, you can also press the following. Let's just quickly go over the shortcut that I wanted to tell you. You don't have to go and use the brush size thingy over there on the left. You can also use Ctrl, Alt, and drag with your left mouse. For me, it's a little bit easier because I only need to use the Alt Graph key. Now, this is just because I have a German keyboard. It's the right Alt next to the space bar. So I only have to press Alt Graph and then drag. That's it. I highly recommend you use those shortcuts. I know it seems a little bit tedious in the beginning, but I think it's really important to have this shortcut maybe also already in the beginning so you don't lose time doing inefficient things. Now we have covered that. Let's just go into the next tool. The next tool is one of my favorite tools. It's the auto select tool. Here we have three things. Refer to editing layer only. That means we are referring to editing layer only. That means we only select stuff that is on this layer. The second one is refer to all layers. This means if we have another layer and we drew something over there, this very ugly, it's gonna refer to all of the layers. If it's only refer to editing layer only, of course, it's only using this layer. This one is selection for referred layers. Yeah, okay, this is, to be honest, this is a little bit weird. The selection for referred layers is a little bit off. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what it does. I'm not using it. It kind of feels like it's the same, but without area scaling. And oh, it's also filling up the vector path. Well, I don't use it. I mainly use refer to editing layer only and refer to all layers. Now that we have covered that, let's go to the eyedropper tool. We have picked displayed color and pick color from layer. Now, I'm gonna try to tell you the difference between that. For that, I quickly need to prepare some layers for that. All right, now that we're back at our eyedropper tool, let's just say, I want to pick the color from the layer. I just filled it in with black, multiplied it, and lowered the opacity. Don't worry, we're also covering that later. So when I click it now, it's showing us the color that we drew on the layer. But it doesn't matter what blend mode or what opacity we have. This is the original color. What if we want to draw in this specific color? Well, then we're gonna use the pick displayed color. This just picks the displayed color. And voila, we can now draw in that color. Whee! If you're interested in the shortcuts, you can just check this out. The zoom is hashtag. I I hope you already have in your head the different methods of zooming in and out. The hand, I don't know why it doesn't stand there, but I already covered it. I would recommend you not using this tool because you can just press the space bar. The operation tool, it's O. This is the move layer tool. Again, this is the shortcut K. For the selection area tool, it's M. For the auto select tool, it's W. And the pipette tool is always an I. You can remember that by thinking about the I as a pipette. I would recommend you making small little notes and maybe sticking it onto your drawing tablet so you can always use and remember them. Now that we have covered this, it's now time for the actual drawing thing, the pen tool. For that, as you can see, P. Okay, now it might get a little bit more difficulty for you, cause I already sorted my brushes. These are the brushes that I always use. I categorize them in hard, soft, and hair. And I think it's best that you can just try them out. But I think now it's also a good time to go over the tool properties. Let's just say we want... I'm gonna choose my soft round brush. This is actually one of my favorites. Now, let's see what it looks like when I try it out. It's very soft, right? What if I want to have it a little bit more in your face? Then we're just gonna go to the tool properties over there and look at the opacity. This changes the opacity of our brush. Nice. Now it's much more opaque. As you can see, we just did that. Whee! Okay, I'm gonna give you another shortcut real quickly. What if I want to delete all of the things that I just drew on this layer? Do I need to go and erase all of it? Actually, no. You can just use the delete button. And now everything that was on this layer is deleted, but not the layer itself. Now we're gonna get at the anti-aliasing. The anti-aliasing is basically how softly this thing is gonna look with the pixels. Okay. Let's just make one line here. You see, that's pretty normal, right? Let's just click on the no anti-aliasing. This is also much easier for the auto select tool because these pixels are not smooth at all. Just either 100% this color or no color. Way easier for the auto select tool to select those. That's why a lot of anime productions are using pens with no anti-aliasing. As you can see, this is basically perfect. And let's just move on to this. And here, because it's a bit smoothed out, it has a harder time selecting the line. But don't worry, if that ever happens to you, then you can just expand our selected area. Let's just say by 1 pixel. And there we have it. Then it's much better. Let's just click on the strong anti-aliasing. Let's see what it looks like. Wow, that looks pretty soft. Maybe you can't notice it, but I can notice it. Next thing we have is the hardness. The hardness also changes the brush tip. When the value is low, the brush tip is more blurred. Also, different pencils and pens have different tool properties. As you can see, the design pencil has different ones than the animate pencil that we just had. Here it's only brush size, opacity, anti-aliasing, brush density, and stabilization. I'm just gonna show you a demo of what zero stabilization looks like. You don't have to be using zero stabilization. So also don't feel bad if you need stabilization with your digital tablet, because of course it's not gonna be like the traditional sketches, and because of the tablets it makes a little bit more jitteriness in your lines. And now we're gonna try out 100% stabilization. Here you can see that it's much more stabilized, but also slow. But don't worry, that doesn't mean that your PC is slow. That just means that our stabilization is at 100%. I try to not use 100% stabilization because I think it doesn't let me improve my line stability, because also that is important. In the beginning, I was actually using stabilization for line art. I mean, I sometimes do that too, but I try not to use that when I'm sketching, because I don't want to get used to this high of stabilization. But if you want to use it, it's up to you. I just wouldn't recommend a beginner using 100% stabilization all of the time, except when your hand is really, really shaky and you can't draw otherwise. I usually stick with I think 20 or 15. And for these brushes, I feel like you have to try them yourself, because I can't tell you what brush you like the most. And don't forget, ClipStudio Paint has also a big gallery of brushes that you can download. The next thing is decoration. Yours is probably very different from mine. Unfortunately, I already sorted all of my brushes and I mainly don't have any of the default brushes anymore. Oh, if you ever accidentally delete your default brushes, by the way, you don't need to panic. You can just right click on one of the brushes and click Add from Default. And now, here we have everything. I personally have deleted them because I don't want my brushes to be that messy. I really like it when it's organized. Next thing is blend. For that, you're gonna use the shortcut J. I'm gonna show you what blending tool is. Let's just say we have a black color.
This is red.
We have a black, aka this is a dark red. Oh, and another shortcut. You see those little thingies here? This is our colors. We have two different colors. I personally love this shortcut. The shortcut is X. You see this? We switched. Isn't that nice? We don't have to click on it. We just have to press X and then it switches. And you know what's also super cool? We're gonna go to that eraser a little bit later, because I personally never use erasers. Because you know why? I press C. Let's just see what it... Let's just see what it does. You see, we switched now to this transparent thingy down there. And that means that our pencil that we just used is basically becoming an eraser. I love this so much. I'm never using erasers again. I always just use this. I think I haven't touched an eraser in like 10 years. Let's just go back to the blending. This is J. Here we have our different blending modes. I have, of course, also my usual blending tools. I have this really easy blender, the soft blender, the mild blur brush, and my blur brush too. Because I personally, I'm not a huge fan of the original blending tools, except for the blur. I really like that. Let's just go with blur. As the name suggests, we're gonna blur stuff together. Okay, and remember, if we blend with our transparent color selected, it looks a little bit different. See how it looks like? It doesn't really work that well, right? So let's just press Ctrl Z to go back and press X to switch out of the eraser. And as you can see now, it's much better. The fingertip blend tool is looking like this. Basically as if we are like smudging it with our fingers. I sometimes use that for hair highlights or shadows. Then I'm just gonna be like doop 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 wee 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 wee. It's a masterpiece.
Alright, that's it for part 1. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the other parts. Bye!